Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today, as a change of schedule, and also due to popular demand, we're building a second subway station. But this time it won't be a full station like this one that took us many videos, but more a dummy station, so it looks like the train's got somewhere else to stop. Well, I've always planned on having a full subway system underneath Brick Nottingham, but in order to do that, I can't have loads and loads of these large subway stations because they just take up far too much space, and because they're all fully underground, which would require a lot more tables, even more tables than I've got, and a lot more pieces and effort. So in order to give the illusion that I've got a really comprehensive network, I'm going to have two full stations, of which this is the first, and this is in Brick Bay, which has got the marina on one side, which will have the beach on the other side, and is in the sort of standing hole in which I stand and film. And there'll be a second standing hole where I film over there in due course, but we haven't got there yet. So that's where some of my pictures are taken from currently, but that will have a complete loop of tables around it as well. And the lower aspect of that sort of hole, just like this one, will have another station. And I haven't decided whether that'll be a sort of mirror copy, just the same, or completely different. But this train that you're seeing going around at the moment, here he is with his lights. Ooh, there we go. That will go to the second station, and you will see it appear going through that station and then through this station, all in a big loop. But in addition to that, because that's after all only two stations, I want to do at least two more. And I might do more after that, but I definitely want to do two more dummy stations. So what we're going to do today is make the first one of those, which is a station that the train won't actually stop at or go to, but it'll feel like it does, and that there's a much bigger network than there really is. So, onwards with that. Now, the first stage of building both the facade and the full subway stations is the subway entrance, and it's very important for the believability of the whole network that the entranceway for both the facades and the real ones are exactly the same in either case. And it starts off with the characteristic red, white and blue stripe, which all my Dutch viewers remind me is the Dutch flag, though I think of it as a toothpaste stripe, but each to their own. And then we can put on these lovely fence pieces in sand green, which just really give it that sort of New York subway wrought iron look. Also the Paris Metro has these, and a couple of stops in London have the sort of really old wrought iron. I believe Piccadilly Circus is an example of that. Maybe not in this colour, but yeah, you can see it's quite a simple build, but very effective. So, got this stripe, and I have this obviously above the pavement layer, which is sort of, so it'll be mounted on one set of grey tiles, grey plates rather, as well, because otherwise the blue stripe would vanish when I put paving around. So let me get this right, actually. Got this wrong. I put so I've got two subway signs. I need to get them in the right order so they're perfectly consistent. So I have the upward facing bracket on first, and then the downward bracket with the same tile from the Turtle Lair set 10669, which was a junior set from 2014. So I put that there, so that's nice and visible for the people going down the steps, and that's very visible from people coming from the other direction. Then I can have, for the end, two 1x2s, and then these nice curved slope pieces So that incorporates both of those signs very well. And then for the edges, I have a 4 tile, and a jumper plate. Gives it a bit of strength, a nice smooth finish, and then I can put on these globe ball lights. All right. So, first of all, we need to decide where this subway stop's going to go. And I haven't decided yet. So there are a few different possibilities. Now, first of all, we have to consider what looks realistic. So we need to have it fairly spaced out from our existing stop, which is sort of in front of the castle, pretty much where I've got to with building before it starts becoming empty fields. But so I need to have it far away from that. But also I don't want it too near something like a tram stop, because if I put it too near another form of mass transport, then they'll be pretty much running parallel routes, and it sort of decreases the believability of it, if you ask me. And then lastly, I need to think about what I'm going to do with the steps, because if I want physical steps to actually go down underground, then I need to position this in a place where I've already got raised base plates, i.e. base plates on supportive bricks, like near my marina. Because otherwise, it will be on a solid base plate with a solid table underneath, and I'm not getting a saw out to go and cut a hole for some steps in this. So basically, it would have to make do with a very flat set of stairs, which wouldn't look as good. Now, just to show you what I mean, I mocked this up. So you could still have the top step being the same as for my full subway station one, with this 2x4 light bluish grey tile with the tread plate sticker on it. But then you could suggest the downward slope into the darkness with, first of all, a dark bluish grey 2x4 and then 3 black ones. And when you put this on an area like that, it would sort of look like this. Now, I don't think that's ideal because you can kind of see it's flat, but you could almost get, say, sorry Robin, I'm going to rip you in half. You could get something like a minifigure with his just his torso disconnected. Robin's bow's getting a bit in the way, but you get the idea, sort of coming up the stairs out of the darkness by including some plates in those tiles or something like that. So I think that really helps to sort of show that it's a different height. But I think it would look even better if we could put it somewhere with actual 3D steps. So that's going to be a priority if we can. Sorry, Robin, I do apologise. So here is a potential area that is currently undeveloped, that's right in the middle of a very built-up area that could do with a subway station. But sadly here we are supported by table underneath, so it would very much have to be the flat version. Also, we're not a million miles from the subway station we've already got over there. I mean, it's a fair distance of sort of, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 base plates, but it's still on the same street, so I think we can do better. Although it does look great there. Here's an area that's nowhere near the existing subway station, being right up the far end near the town hall, which is hidden behind my lighting tripod. Do excuse that for just this one shot. Also, you can see I've managed to fill in this gap for those who are interested with the pieces from those recent brick halls, so that's good. Yes, but as I say, I could put a subway stop, say, here, or anywhere around here, really. And what's more, if I did it more towards this corner, because the table pretty much goes diagonally across there, so if I did it right here, I'd actually be able to build 3D stairs into it. So I think this is almost an ideal spot for what we're trying to do today, except for the fact that it's right next to one of the 3 or 4 tram stops that we're going to have in this city. So I think with the tram line almost following the same trajectory, because it ends up at the train station, which we haven't built yet, and with the subway stops my fourth one's definitely earmarked for my main train station because you'd always have that connection. I just think they're two similar mass transit systems right next to each other. I just don't like it. So let's keep thinking. So ask any city planner what the wonders of a subway system are, and they'll say, well, you can go absolutely anywhere with them. Well, I imagine there are some caveats to that, but you know what I mean, because it doesn't matter what buildings are above ground. And with that in mind, I thought, where better to have a subway stop than arguably the centre of everything, Old Market Square. It's absolutely in the centre of town, and it's a fair enough a distance away from the existing entranceway, so why not have it here? And we've even got a couple of areas, like here, where there's a bit of blank space. So I was thinking, if I put my subway entranceway, say, there, it's a little cramped in front of the City Bank, but not too bad, and here we'll be able to see it very easily from a lot of directions, and what's more, this is all elevated. So as a result, we'll be able to build proper stairs to a proper depth to make it look like a real subway station. Now the bad side of this is quite bad. We're going to have to lift up probably this building, the statue, and all of the tiling around here in order to lift up the 16 by 32 base plate that goes underneath here, and then basically relay different size base plates and plates around the same area, but then just leaving the right sized hole for our subway entrance, and then put all the buildings and all the tiles and statues and people back. So it's a mammoth task. So I say we make a start and get on with it. Well, you have to go backwards to go forwards, but yeah, this looks like a disaster zone at the moment, doesn't it? So this is the 32 by 16 base plate we're going to need to take up. So I've removed the top floor of the surf shop and Paradise Cafe, taken out these two buildings, as I said, and just removed the tiles that were connecting all the bits together, and this step all the way along here, which then means that hopefully with a brick separator, there we go, we can lift up the whole base plate that we're removing and show the supportive structure underneath, which was just cheap and random large pieces. Now the first half of putting it all back together is very easy. I've got a 16 by 16 plate, not a base plate, a plate, so it's got the anti-studs on the underside, and I can basically put that in place of half of what was there before, and because it was a base plate resting on top of studs, and this will be a plate pushed down onto those studs, it'll be at exactly the same height as it was before. I just need to push that down very carefully off camera. Then I may need to put a few more supports in now because we're going to have a lot more complicated structure there, but essentially I can have a 8 by 16. This is a base plate rather than a plate at the moment, but I could use a plate to sort of cover off that bit, and I just need some smaller plates around here, probably with some supporting structure, in order to make the hole, and then that will be where our steps go down, and we have our subway entrance. Very good. So we need to do some bricks for the sides and all the rest of it, but you can see how it works. Right, so I'm going to get on with putting that down, and then we can plan the next 16 by 16 area a bit more carefully. The next stage is to plan the opening that's going to be on the remaining 16 by 16 area. And just to illustrate the space I've got, don't worry, I'm not going to use it, is this bright green base plate. And the way I think I'm sort of going to do it, I'm kind of using the bright green as a stencil, if you see what I mean. So I'm going to have two 6 by 16 plates, and then just a 2 by 4 at this end, and then a 1x4 and a 4x4, which means when the first step, which is this double width one, is overhanging, just like I've done my other set of steps. So this would be the first kind of riser of the stairs. Then this will fit perfectly over it like that, because I have the step sort of half in, half out. And then the bit that you can still see is green will basically be the hole. Now if I just use this to represent the base plate that we've left in place that's next to the one in question, then essentially it'll look like that. So I think that's what we need. So obviously what we now need is the supports to hold all of this up from underneath and together. And then when that's all in place, we'll be able to build in some stairs. So onto the stairs, usually I use 2x4 light bluish grey bricks, which, as you can see, quite simply form a stairway. And then I use these light bluish grey 1x4 tiles with tread plates on each of the steps. So then you can see very quickly it becoming a stairway. But in this case, I want to accentuate the fact that it's going down underground and into darkness. So I thought I'd do it a bit differently. So rather than do it like that, I thought I can make use of some of the different tread plates I've got. So you see here are the normal light bluish grey ones with the sort of silvery sort of sticker on. But there's two more types I've got. One is a similar sticker, but it's slightly more dull, or maybe it's just more dull because it's on a dark bluish grey plate. But you can see it looks very similar, but a bit darker. And maybe use two of those, because I'm going to have 5 steps. That's how much I've got room for. And then even further down, we can use something even better, which is a dark bluish grey tile with a dark bluish grey tread plate sticker on it as well. And therefore, by having one of those at the very bottom, you can see that we're sort of accentuating the decline down these steps by way of adding a bit of manufactured darkness. I think that effect works quite well. So I'm going to use these combinations of stickers and tiles as my steps down. Then to further accentuate that, rather than just having bluish grey, light bluish grey bricks, I thought I could do this, when my 5 steps actually get darker as you go down as well. So we've got the one that's made of plates at the top, which sort of aligns and joins onto these plates here. So imagine that's there, and that's got the top step on with the 2x4 tile. And then the next ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the very bottom 5 would be these tiles here. So we could have, well, not one there, that's the 201. So there, there, then the darker 2, and then at the very bottom we'll have a black plate and the darkest one of all. And then you can see that when that's in a sort of sheltered space, that it's going to look like it's gradually getting quite a lot darker, which I think is really quite an interesting effect. So I really like that idea, and though it looks weird, say, at that angle, I don't think it will look that weird when you're sort of looking down a hole at it. So that's the plan anyway. Right, so I've got my stairs, I've got my template for what's above ground. I just need to sort out all the stuff over there on the other side underneath the marina so it'll accommodate all this and support it. So perhaps unsurprisingly, it was still a bit harder than that. I've had to take up the next 16x32 base plate as well, just because all of the structures of these useless or large or cheap or discoloured pieces was so sort of joined up and complex and in the way of our stairs that I had to pull more up just to free up enough free space for this hole that we're creating. So you can just see out of view our steps going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's the black plate which you also can't see, and I've also underneath here, which you can't see from this side, got a solid dark bluish grey wall made of 1 by 2 by 5 bricks. Then for the end, so the sort of dead end that we're going to meet down there, I've got a 1 by 6 by 5 panel, and I've got one in dark bluish grey, but I thought I'd use this dark blue because it sort of almost looks just a bit different and a bit like it could just be, you know, a shadow basically in the long distance background. So I thought that that would be a good colour for the end of the tunnel. So now I can hold that in place with this 2 by 4, which makes up part of the, there we go, part of the new ground level. And then I've got my 6 by 16s, which I just need to push onto all these ugly looking supporting bricks. There's one. And there's 2. Now before I do this one, I need to have the other side wall, otherwise we're going to be able to see through there. So good thing I remembered that. So this is these 4 bricks here. So more 1 by 2 by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I put them in, oh no, we've got a clash there with that one. Right, I'm going to have to make this one shorter and use different bricks. Right, so if I replace that with a 1 by 2 by 2 and a 1 by 3 rather, then that will still work. And it's even got more support now actually, so that's probably an improvement. Right, nice and pushed down. So there's the hole into the floor. And there's the plate layer that's going to be level with the tile layer that the entranceway will sit on. Right, so now I just need to do this little bit here and then put on and back the remaining 16 by 32 base plate. So that's that base plate all back with everything on it, thank goodness. Still got to put the statue on, the bank building, the roofs of these 2 buildings, and then redo the tiling all around here. But first of all, I've got the 1 by 4 plate, a 4 by 4 plate, then that top step is the tread plate tile. You can see these aren't joined together that well at the moment, but they will be. And here is our entranceway, and if we've done it all right, it'll go there. And that looks pretty good. We've got a really deep hole here, which I can demonstrate using my 2 by 16 plate. It goes all the way down to there. So that's pretty good. It's, what, 10 studs deep. Awesome. Now the man that was standing here before, which was the first thing I had to move, was this guy singing along to some music on his headphones. I figured that I'll be able to put him on the bottom step and have him in the stairway coming up. So that's why I haven't pushed this down quite yet, because he can go there. And you can see how deep it is, because even though I've got him there, can you see his, yeah, you can just see his headphones. So that's how deep it is. And then when I put this firmly on now. And that bottom grey layer is so obviously the tiles going up to it won't obscure the blue part of the toothpaste stripe, so you still can't see him. So I'm going to have to do a different camera angle just so you can see the full extent of the steps and the man coming up them on our subway system. Right, so I'm going to get the building back in and the tiles back on. Oh, and the fountain. Now another good thing about having put this here is that it's actually freed up a good half a dozen of these 2x4 light bluish grey tiles that I use for all my pavements, and amongst the 2x2s as well. And these are 17p, I think it is, each new. And you sometimes can get them for less than that, but not very often. So, I mean, it's a massive, massive undertaking tiling all of your sidewalks or pavements, because the cost just really, really spirals quite quickly when you add it all up. So there's the boy finding the coin. Here's the lady using the cash machine. So I've got to get her taking out a note and standing there. Perfectly done. He's coming out of there. Boy with scooter. Woman waving. Good. Right, need to put this back on, don't I? I'll push that down off camera and put these lids on, and I think we'll be there. Thank goodness. Well, you can probably see now why I was putting that off a little, because it was a bit of a task, wasn't it? But now it's fully integrated, absolutely seamlessly. I think it looks really good. The signs really pop, the red, white and blue really pops, the sand green really pops. I mean, one criticism would be it is quite close to the Citibank door, so when that's fully open, somebody will have to go one way and not the other, but nonetheless, the main thing is it adds a lot of detail to Old Market Square, and it really brings the subway network right into the rest of the city. I'm tempted to do half a dozen of these things. Well, it is incredibly hard to light in this deep well, as you can probably see. But I think you can still see, well, you can't see the black floor, which is really good. The black plate right at the bottom. And then the bottom step you can just see. And then you've got two darker ones, two lighter ones. And you see what I mean about using the different greys there. It does go from light grey to dark grey, and you can just make that out. But, you know, it's arguably the shadow that's making that more obvious. So I think it works really well. And unlike the one that we put in earlier with the full subway station, this one's now fully integrated with tiles. So the top step just becomes part of the pavement, which shows it's different and kind of beckons you in by being sticking out from the end. We've got those lovely signs from the set 10669 from both directions. Yes. It is a bit close to the bank, but I mean, if I got it any further up, it would have been in the way of the bank machine or the next store along. So it had to go somewhere. And the good thing about it being here is we can see it very clearly. And I think just by seeing it, you know what it's for, even without the sign. You can just tell it's a stairway down. And then when you look closer, you can see it is, with our friend listening and singing to his music, just visible at the bottom of the stairs coming up. I like it. So although that was quite a difficult and time-consuming build, I think it was well worth the effort. Although we only put in a 6x10 structure, we have put in a stairwell as well, and it's all really very stable. I mean, nothing's wobbly here at all. In fact, it's more stable than it was before. Now we've used base plates, rather plates instead of base plates. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. And the fact that I'm almost having to point out what I've done in the larger city picture is testament to the fact that it just fits in so well. I'm really impressed with it. As I say, I might have to do a lot more. Tell me what you think. I don't want to do too many. I'm definitely going to do one more in my main station, which I haven't started yet, so don't look for that in the back catalogue. And I'm going to do a fourth, which will be linking to the actual full subway station. That will be the second station near the fairground, which seems a long way off at the moment. So there will be 4. The question is, do I make that 5 or 6? I don't know. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And this video was actually out of sequence in that I was going to start on my gym, my high-end sort of posh swanky gym with some gym equipment. But demand from subscribers prevailed and we did this instead. So next time on Robin Hood Bricks, we'll be getting on with that gym. See you then!